Even a parasite would thrive in this facility. I understand, just stay out of it from now on, please. I am Theresa. Before I realized it, I turned 60. I have a family, my husband Brian, and his daughter from a previous marriage, Maria. As you can infer, this is my first marriage, but Brian's second. We've been married for 30 years now. Initially, my relationship with Maria was smooth, but as she entered her teenage years, she began to resent me. Brian always protected me from Maria's attitudes. But 3 years ago, Maria got married and moved out, and since then, Brian and I have been living peacefully. Hey, Theresa, I'm getting a divorce. Maria suddenly appeared at our house with a large suitcase, plopped down on the sofa, and announced that. What? Why? When I asked, Maria responded with a languid tone. Does it matter? It has nothing to do with you, right? Anyway, my room is still the same, right? Yes, it is, but are you moving back here? Seemingly offended by my question, Maria glared at me. What? Can't I come back? This is my home. She still clearly has issues with me. Her long-standing queen-like attitude apparently hasn't changed. I didn't say you couldn't. When are you coming back? Today. Maria responded even before I finished my question. But coming back today, that's too sudden. Today, does your father know? I wasn't informed. I just told Dad. I don't owe you any explanations, do I? We're strangers, after all. Ever since her teenage years, Maria frequently told me, we're strangers, after all. At first, these words pierced my heart, but over time, they lost their sting. All right then, I'll go clean up your room. Holding a vacuum cleaner, I headed to Maria's room. Maria made no move to help, instead raiding the fridge. When I finished cleaning and returned to the living room, Maria's belongings were scattered everywhere. I'd always known she wasn't the tidiest person, but I thought she'd have learned to handle household chores after becoming a full-time homemaker upon marriage. It seems she hasn't changed. In the midst of the awkward atmosphere, as I was preparing dinner, Brian came home. I'm home. Dad. Seeing her father, Maria shouted excitedly. Oh, Maria, it was a surprise to see you back all of a sudden. It's a surprise. Now that I'm back, you won't be lonely, right? I suppose. Brian welcomed Maria back warmly, even though her sudden divorce and return seemed to have caught him off guard. I could tell he was concerned about the dynamics between Maria and me. While Brian and Maria chatted, I laid out dinner on the table. Dinner's ready. Upon hearing my voice, Brian turned around, mentioned he would change, and headed to our bedroom. As soon as he left, Maria's expression turned sour, frustrated. She ran her fingers through her hair and began to speak to me. You know, it's not cool to interrupt a parent-child conversation, right? We were having a good time, and then you ruined it, Theresa. Jealous much at your age. It's quite pathetic. I ignored Maria's words and took a seat. Seeing me, Maria clicked her tongue in annoyance and sat down as well. After a while, my husband returned in his casual clothes, and once everyone was seated, we began to eat. Oh my gosh, Theresa's cooking is as bad as ever. Dad, if you keep eating this, it's gonna ruin your health. I had guessed she'd say that. I didn't expect Maria to quietly eat the meal I prepared. When I looked at my husband, he was giving a wry smile. You're still on about that. Dad loves Mom's cooking. But Dad, aren't you brainwashed? It's inedible no matter how you look at it, Maria exclaimed, but she continued to eat voraciously. I decided to ignore her, and kept silent. My husband always looked out for me, so I made sure to eat with a smile, not wanting to worry him. Maria was glaring at me the entire time. Starting the next day, Maria's demands increased exponentially. She threw away the bed sheets because they weren't cute enough, demanded that I buy her favorite alcohol if it wasn't in the fridge, and even wanted an allowance until she found a job. She was doing whatever she pleased. Whenever I objected or interjected, she would lash out and hurl abusive words. My husband tried to admonish her, but Maria didn't listen. Honestly, even primary school kids nowadays don't act this entitled. Darissa, if you're going out, can you leave some money? As I was getting ready to leave home, Maria approached me. What money? I've booked a nail salon appointment today, so money for that and money for going to a steakhouse for lunch. While Maria said she was looking for a job, there was no sign of her making any effort. She claimed she was visiting job agencies whenever she went out. I didn't believe her. I've prepared lunch, so please eat that. Your nail appointments are your personal indulgence. You should pay for them yourself, right? She became grumpy upon hearing this. Why won't you listen to me? For starters, the only reason you can live comfortably is because of Dad. It's Dad's money. You're in no position to act all high and mighty about money. With that, Maria forcefully took my wallet, grabbed a few bills, and stormed out. Maria, wait. Of course, she didn't listen, and just walked away. Enough is enough, I muttered while standing at the entrance. Later, when I returned from shopping and was preparing dinner, my husband came home before Maria. I'm back. Where's Maria? She hasn't returned yet. I see, Parasite, it must be tough while I'm at work, right? Are you okay? He looked genuinely concerned. I didn't want to upset him, so I assured him I was fine. If anything happens, tell me immediately. Maria is old enough. I'm thinking of suggesting she live on her own once she finds a job. Hearing this, I felt a bit relieved, thinking that our cohabitation wouldn't last forever. I had been living a peaceful life since Maria got married and moved out, but now I was worried about her again. That sounds good. Seeing me smile, my husband also smiled and lightly patted my shoulder. Yet, even after 2 weeks, Maria never seemed to attend any job interviews. Instead, she kept asking for money, saying, I'm looking for a job. There's no job search that requires so much money. She would ask for several $100s at once, timing her requests for when my husband was at work. I can't give you any more money. Upon hearing this, Maria furrowed her brows and began her theatrics. Isn't that cruel to me who's heartbroken from my divorce? I'm trying to find a job to contribute to the household, and you're getting in my way. Parasite, you're so mean. With tears, Maria flung the door open and left the house. Is that how someone heartbroken acts? It's obvious she's not looking for a job. It made me curious about why Maria got divorced. Maria never talked about the reason for her divorce. I hadn't cared about the reason before because I was turned off by her attitude and temperament. Even when I asked my husband, he said he didn't know why they divorced. This makes me even more curious. My husband and I contacted a friend who works at a detective agency to find out the reason for Maria's divorce. 2 weeks later, I got a call from a friend. My husband was at work, so I went to the agency alone. What I heard there was shocking. I'm home. I'm so hungry. Make my dinner quickly. Maria, who came home past midnight, was drunk and said that to me. He was trying to sleep. It felt like an order. Just eat whatever's in the fridge. I'm going to sleep. What? I'm tired. Hurry up. When I ignored her demands, Maria grabbed my arm. Don't get cocky. Make the meal now. My husband woke up, surprised by Maria's shouting, and stopped her when she tried to be violent with me. Stop it. What are you thinking? If you're going to act like this, then leave. When my husband yelled at Maria, she started complaining to him too. What's your problem, you old geezer? Aren't you grateful that I came home? Are you too crazy or something? A heated argument ensued, but I calmed my husband down, and Maria ran into her room. A week passed, and things hadn't changed. I was mentally and physically drained. That's when Maria said something outrageous. Oh, by the way, my boyfriend will be living here with me starting next week. I was taken aback by that statement. What did you just say? Like I said, my boyfriend will be living here from next week. She casually answered while playing with her phone. My husband's face turned livid. That's not happening. If you want to live together, find a job and move in together. What? Are you misunderstanding something? I'm not asking for permission. It's already decided. It's my house, so I can do whatever I want, right? As expected, she didn't listen to my opinion. I won't allow that. Although my husband yelled at Maria, she ignored him. Actually, why don't you leave, Theresa? When I looked at Maria after hearing that, she was smirking at me. What do you mean? Exactly what I said. Have you gone deaf from old age? The words Maria threw at me were full of spite. Enough is enough. What do you think of Mom? She's the one who raised you from when you were little. My husband tried to defend me, but Maria didn't get it. Just then, Maria's phone rang. She checked it, smirked, and went back to her room. What is she thinking? Theresa, I'm sorry. Seeing my husband upset hurt me. I took his hand and smiled. It's okay. The next day, since my husband had the day off, we decided to go on a day trip to clear our heads. We hadn't had any refreshing time since Maria came back home, so I suggested that we fully enjoy this chance. Our day trip was a lot of fun. We reminisced and spent a peaceful time together. Thanks to our time together, we were able to share smiles by the time we went home. I'm home. Upon arriving and heading to the bedroom to put down our luggage, I noticed mine and my husband's things were missing. As we were in confusion, a voice sounded from behind. "Oh, why are you back?" Turning around, Maria stood there with her arms crossed, smirking. "Where are our belongings?" "Huh, I sold everything to a recycling shop." I felt my body trembling upon hearing those words. "What did you say?" "Like I said, I didn't need them anymore, so I sold them. Didn't make much money, but it's enough for a few days of my allowance." "How could you do that?" I couldn't help but shout in anger. "Hup, who are you yelling at? You should be thanking me. You know, I let you live here comfortably all this while. To think we had such a good time, and come back to this." The results of the prior investigation I conducted on Maria and the memories of living with her flashed through my mind, and I made a decision. Strangely, it made me calm down and regain my composure. Looking at my husband, I could tell he was furious and about to lash out. "Leeches like you should go to a facility." Before my husband could react to Maria's final insult, I stopped him and faced Maria. "Understood. Please don't involve yourself with us anymore." "Theresa, let's go." "Brian, it seems we no longer have a place here." As I briskly took action, my husband seemed taken aback, but then replied, "All right," and we left the house together. Good riddance, old pests, never come back. Maria's mocking laughter echoed from behind. "Theresa, how can I ever apologize?" Looking at my trembling husband, I could see he was holding back tears. "It's okay, leave it to me." With that, I beat my chest in reassurance and led him somewhere. "This place is heh." When I heard the results of the investigation, I prepared for this, just in case. Hearing my laugh, my husband also smiled and said, "I can't compete with you." A month later, incessant calls came from Maria. "Oh my, she's already calling." My husband suggested not to answer, but I wasn't the type to let things slide. "Let me have a little revenge." With a laugh, I said this, and he chuckled in agreement. "Hello, what on earth is happening?" The voice on the other end was furious. "What do you mean?" Playing dumb seemed to infuriate Maria even more. "Don't play dumb. What's this about renting?" "Oh, that place is rented. Didn't you know?" "What? This is Dad's house, isn't it?" "No, I rented that place under my name. If you want to live there, you have to pay the rent." Maria was at a loss for words. Until now, we lived in a detached rental house and paid rent every month. Maria didn't know about it. "Wah, you're joking, right? This is a rental, and it's under your name. Then, pay the rent." She said something incomprehensible. But it wasn't as before. "Why should I, not you, talk to Dad?" "Well, your father has already retired, so that's impossible. Besides, why should I pay if I'm not living there?" A scream was then heard from the other end of the call. It sounded so loud it seemed it would hurt just listening. "What do you mean he's retired?" One can easily imagine Maria being extremely flustered. "Your father was nearing his retirement age anyway, so he took this opportunity to leave the company." How could you do this? You know what company my dad worked for, right? It's that big S corporation. Of course, I do. I'm the president of that company. Upon hearing this revelation about my identity, Maria was momentarily speechless. Hello, if you're done, I'll hang up. What, president? You're the president of that company? No way, right? Maria sounded completely bewildered. My husband and I met at that company where my father was the president at the time. I was working my way up, gaining experience to eventually take over. That's when I met my husband. So, initially, he didn't know I was the president's daughter and only found out when we decided to get married. So, Dad was getting his salary from you, not from me, but from the company. He worked hard. Wait. So you had an income too? Of course, I often worked from home. Are we done? Just as I was about to hang up, Maria's frantic voice could be heard. Wait, then give me some living expenses. Being a president means you're really rich, right? I'm so happy to know you have so much money. Misunderstanding something, she suddenly became joyful. I was so stunned by this unbelievable statement that all I could do was sigh. I could hear a man's voice laughing on the other end of the call. You must be joking. I replied with a stern voice, and Maria sounded genuinely surprised. Oh, why should I give you money for living expenses? There's a limit to making fun. Don't say that, right, Mom? I became even more irritated at the convenient use of Mom to address me. Please don't call me Mom. I don't know anyone who thinks it's okay to hurt someone like you do. Goodbye. Saying that, I hung up. The phone kept ringing every day, and I ignored it, but my husband, annoyed by the persistent calls, eventually answered. Hello, finally, Dad, we're in trouble. We get rent reminders every day, and our electricity and gas have been shut off. Please, help us. Come back. Even if it's just you. My husband was visibly angered by her one-sided and selfish demands. How dare you even say that? Aren't you with your boyfriend now? Both of you can work and earn, can't you? Stop relying on us. But my boyfriend is unemployed. I can't find a job either. We have no income right now. We can only afford one meal a day. That's not my problem. Plus, is it not that you can't find a job, but that you just don't want to work? Maria remained silent when Brian said that. I heard you left your ex-husband without a proper divorce agreement because you didn't want to pay property division. You think that if you work, your wages will be garnished and your whereabouts discovered, right? How do you know all this? It turned out that Brian had recently discovered these details from a detective agency. Maria's divorce was due to her affair, and both she and her lover were married, which is termed a double affair. As a result, Maria fled back to her parents' home. Maria had told her in-laws she had no parents when she got married and married without introducing them, hence her ex-husband didn't know where her parents lived. I had it investigated. You wouldn't explain anything. When I found out, I was livid, but Theresa said we should keep quiet. Maybe you'd come clean about it. What Theresa did. I felt it was wrong to press Maria when I found out the truth from the detective agency. If Maria had come to discuss it herself, I thought we could sit down and talk. Though it was a faint hope. You probably don't know, but Theresa has always been there for us. Do you remember your real mother? I don't remember. I thought so. Your mother had an affair just like you, and left me and you behind. Suddenly being a single father, I was in a mess for a while. I had to handle housework, childcare, and work all by myself. Due to this, my job was in jeopardy. But then I met Theresa. She supported me in my job, which saved me from getting fired. Once we started dating, she also took care of you and did the house chores, and I began to recover bit by bit. She even paid for your high school fees and my parents' living expenses because my salary couldn't cover them. As Brian shared this, tears filled his eyes, and his hand trembled. I gently held his hand. If you have money, then you can do all that. Theresa isn't anything special. Hearing all this and you still say that, I'm at a loss for words. I'm cutting ties with you. His voice became stern. His genuine anger was palpable. Whoa, don't say that. Just help me. If you have money, it's fine, right? I don't care. Goodbye. Even as Maria continued to yell, Brian hung up without hesitation. My dear, don't cry. Are you okay? Sorry. Remembering those times. I guess I'm getting old. As they spoke, the phone rang again. Again, maybe I should change the number. Looking at the smartphone, the call wasn't from Maria, but an unknown number. It was an unexpected caller. 3 days later, a call from a public phone came, and it was Maria. You answered. Look, even my phone got cut off. I can't pay the bills. Help me. Such a pitiful grown-up. I sighed and responded. Come to the oceans tomorrow. What? The oceans? The ultra-luxurious elderly home. The one where you have to pay millions of bucks to get in. You're there. Yes. See you tomorrow. Yes. So we can live there too. Make sure to reserve the best suite for us. We're definitely coming. With that, the call ended. I was beyond angry. It was just sheer disappointment now. We currently live in a place called the Oceans, a very prestigious senior home run by the S Corporation. Moving in requires an initial payment of $1 million, and the monthly fees aren't cheap either. Yet, it's so popular that there's a waiting list. Television crews often come for shoots. The services provided are top-notch within the country. There's a spa, pool, gym, and the entertainment facilities are excellent. The food is also nutritious, and there's a full medical staff, including doctors, nurses, care workers, and clinical psychologists. I had already signed a contract with the Oceans when it was completed, so I could move in at any time. The fact that we were renting a home was because we intended to move here eventually. When Maria returned this time, I prepared everything to ensure we could move in immediately if the worst came to pass. She's coming, isn't she? Yes, she is. I'll contact them then. The next day, while having tea on the terrace with my husband, the concierge informed us of visitors. They are here. We asked the concierge to bring them to the lobby, and we headed there ourselves. When we arrived, a disheveled-looking man and woman with bags were waiting. What are they wearing? Maria, looking unkempt, noticed us and waved. Hey, don't keep me waiting. Show me around. These people are useless. Even in this situation, her condescending attitude remained. I wished she'd use that strong mentality for good. She seemed to have had a dispute with the concierge about entering forcefully, and security was already nearby. I'm so sorry for the inconvenience. After I said, the concierge and security retreated. They are hopeless. Ignoring Maria's complaints, we led them to the lobby sofas. Have a seat. We need to talk. Why now? Can't it wait? Then leave. At that, Maria clicked her tongue in annoyance and roughly sat down. So, what's the talk about? Calm down. I'll order some drinks first. Once the drinks arrived, certain individuals came into view. My husband signaled towards them, ready to break the news. Actually, we're not the ones who wanted to talk to you. What? I don't get it. Who then? Those people. When Maria looked, she saw her ex-husband, her boyfriend's ex-wife, and their respective families. Upon seeing the group, Maria screamed. Maria's boyfriend also fell on his backside. It seems her boyfriend was indeed the man she had an affair with, leading to their divorce. After my husband had ended the call with Maria the other day, her ex-husband called. He had hired a private investigator after Maria and her boyfriend disappeared, and they discovered Maria's family home. They also seemed to have found out about my husband and me and contacted us. When asked about Maria's whereabouts, I informed them that I could share the information. However, at home, cameras would show who visited, which might allow for an escape. So I updated them on our situation and suggested, if called, she would definitely come, and security here is top-notch, so chances of escaping are minimal, hence the suggestion to meet here. And that's how we got here. Why are you here? Maria and her lover tried to flee quickly, but couldn't escape due to the presence of multiple security guards and were forced to sit. Surrounded by Maria's ex-husband and relatives, the lover's ex-wife and family, and a lawyer I had called just in case, the two were interrogated intensely. They simply hung their heads and trembled. Watching this scene, my husband and I had drinks, reflecting on our lives. Where did we go wrong in raising her? She started to change during her teenage years, when she stopped coming home often. The environment in which a child grows up is so important. I don't know who she was hanging around with. True, even as adults, the environment remains crucial. While we were discussing this, we noticed Maria glancing at us, seemingly asking for help. But that wouldn't happen. My husband and I pretended not to notice, and waited for the confrontation to end. Afterward, Maria, with the lawyer present, signed an agreement to pay property division. Due to her recent disappearance, she would work at a company known to her ex-husband until her complete payment. Her lover faced the same situation. After the discussion, Maria seemed to think she could still live here, but when it was explained that this was a nursing home and she couldn't stay, she screamed in protest. Her ex-husband and relatives forcibly took her away. Her lover yelled at Maria, this wasn't the deal, but he too was taken away by his ex-wife and relatives, without any debate. Later, Maria worked to pay off the property division, as per their agreement. It seems they work in a place with accommodations, but the dormitories are old with shared toilets. Compared to before, their living conditions are challenging. Most of their salary goes towards the property division, and they seem to have a modest diet. But this is retribution. You must reap what you sow. Meanwhile, my husband and I are enjoying a graceful life at the oceans. We feel rejuvenated since coming here. We spend more time together and have grown closer. We often interact with other residents, have made friends, smile more, and live fulfilled days.